Sway, The Irresistible Pull of Irrational Behaviour, by Ori Brafman Rom Brafman. Sway, The Irresistible Pull of Irrational Behaviour, by Ori Brafman Rom Brafman explores the hidden psychological forces that drive people to make irrational decisions, even when they believe they are being rational. The book combines insights from psychology, behavioral economics, and real-world case studies to explain why people often make choices that are not in their best interest. 1. Introduction to Irrational Behavior. A. The concept of sway. The term, sway, refers to the unconscious biases and forces that influence our decision-making. Even when people believe they are acting rationally, they are often swayed by irrational forces. B. Examples of irrational behavior. The authors provide examples from various fields such as business, medicine, and sports to demonstrate how irrational forces influence decision-making. C. Objective. The book aims to uncover the specific psychological factors that cause irrational behavior and to offer insights into how these can be recognized and avoided. 2. Loss aversion. A. Definition. Loss aversion is a psychological phenomenon where people fear losses more than they value gains. This causes individuals to make decisions that minimize losses rather than maximize potential gains. B. Experiment with the NBA. A famous case in the book is the decision-making of NBA coaches, who would keep star players on the court despite their poor performance simply to avoid the potential loss of prestige, revenue, or game points. C. Stock market example. Investors often hold onto poorly performing stocks for too long because they are afraid to realize a loss, even when selling early might be the better financial choice. 3. Commitment and escalation of commitment. A. Sunk cost fallacy. This is the irrational behavior of sticking to a decision because of the time, effort, or money already invested, even when it would be wiser to abandon the project. B. Case study. The Concorde jet. The Anglo-French Concorde project continued to receive funding despite escalating costs and decreasing demand. Governments were reluctant to admit failure because of the enormous investments already made. C. Political implications. The authors discuss how governments, corporations, and individuals can escalate their commitment to failed policies, projects, or investments to avoid admitting mistakes. 4. Value attribution. A. Definition. Value attribution is the process of assigning qualities or values to someone or something based on preconceived ideas rather than objective evaluation. B. Famous example. Joshua Bell experiment. The world-renowned violinist Joshua Bell performed in a subway station, and most people ignored him, even though he was playing a Stradivarius violin. People did not expect a famous musician to be playing in such a context, so they devalued the performance. C. Implications. This bias affects how we evaluate products, experiences, and people based on external factors like appearance or reputation, often leading us to irrational judgments. 5. Diagnosis bias. A. Definition. Diagnosis bias refers to how once we make an initial judgment about something or someone, we tend to cling to that judgment even when new evidence contradicts it. B. Example in medicine. Doctors can become fixated on a particular diagnosis and overlook symptoms that suggest a different illness. This can lead to serious medical errors. C. Social impact. Diagnosis bias also affects how people judge others in social situations, such as the workplace, where first impressions can influence long-term perceptions of an individual's abilities and character. 6. Fairness and reciprocity. A. The ultimatum game. A famous experiment known as the ultimatum game demonstrates how people reject unfair offers even when it is in their interest to accept them. This reveals that people value fairness more than rational outcomes in certain situations. B. Workplace applications. Employees who perceive that they are being treated unfairly are more likely to be dissatisfied, regardless of their pay or benefits. Fair treatment, or the lack thereof, can have a significant impact on decision-making and behavior in organizational settings. 7. Altruism and social influence. A. Altruism. The authors discuss how individuals are swayed by the desire to act altruistically or to be seen as altruistic, even when these behaviors might not benefit them directly. B. Case study. Airline disaster. The story of passengers helping each other during a life-threatening plane crash is used to demonstrate how social influence and the desire to help others can override the instinct for self-preservation. C. Influence of group dynamics. Social norms and group behavior can sway individuals to act in ways they might not consider if they were acting independently. 8. The power of rewards and punishments. A. Behavioral economics insight. The book explores how rewards and punishments can have unintended effects on decision-making. For instance, offering financial incentives for behavior that should be intrinsically motivated can sometimes reduce motivation rather than increase it. B. The daycare experiment. In one experiment, a daycare began fining parents for picking up their children late. Surprisingly, the number of late pickups increased. The fine gave parents permission to be late, and they felt less guilty about it, turning a moral issue into a financial transaction. 9. Groupthink and herd behavior. A. Definition. Groupthink occurs when individuals in a group conform to the consensus view rather than offer dissenting opinions, even if they believe the group is wrong. B. Case study. The Bay of Pigs invasion. The authors use the failed Bay of Pigs invasion as a historical example of how groupthink led to a disastrous decision. President Kennedy's advisors, many of whom privately disagreed with the plan, went along with the majority view out of a desire for harmony. C. Social proof. The book discusses how people often look to others when they are uncertain about what to do, which can lead to herd behavior. This can result in irrational decisions, such as panic buying during crises or stock market bubbles. 10. Anchoring. A. Definition. Anchoring refers to the human tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information, the anchor, when making decisions. B. Real estate example. When potential homebuyers are told the listing price of a house, they often anchor their judgment around that number, even if the house is overpriced. This initial price shapes their perception of value, leading to irrational bidding or overpayment. C. Salary negotiations. Similarly, in salary negotiations, the first number mentioned often sets the anchor for the discussion, making it hard for subsequent offers to deviate significantly from that figure. 11. The impact of expectations. A. Expectation bias. People's expectations can shape their experiences. For instance, if someone expects a product or service to be of high quality, they are more likely to perceive it as such, even if the actual quality is mediocre. B. Wine tasting study. A study on wine tasting showed that people rated the same wine higher when they were told it was expensive. The expectation of higher quality led to a better subjective experience, even though the wine was the same. C. Placebo effect. The placebo effect is another example of expectation bias, where patients improve simply because they believe they are receiving treatment, even if the treatment has no therapeutic value. 12. The role of emotions. A. Emotional influence on decisions. Emotions can cloud judgment and lead to irrational decisions, especially in high-stakes or stressful situations. B. Case study. Stock market crashes. The authors examine how emotions like fear and panic can drive mass sell-offs during stock market crashes, leading investors to make poor financial decisions. C. Fear and anxiety. Emotions like fear and anxiety often push people to avoid perceived risks, even if those risks are minimal or manageable, leading to missed opportunities. 13. Framing and the perception of choices. A. Definition. Framing refers to how the presentation or context of a choice can influence decision-making. The same choice can be perceived very differently depending on how it is framed. B. Loss versus gain. People tend to avoid risks when a decision is framed in terms of potential gains but will take risks when the same decision is framed in terms of potential losses. This explains why framing plays a critical role in everything from marketing strategies to political campaigns. C. Healthcare example. In one experiment, patients were more likely to choose a risky surgery when it was framed as having a 90% survival rate rather than a 10% mortality rate, even though both statistics convey the same information. 14. Blind spots in decision-making. A. Unconscious biases. The book emphasizes how many of the irrational forces that sway our decisions operate below the level of conscious awareness. People often believe they are being rational, while in reality, they are being influenced by cognitive biases. B. Overconfidence bias. Many people overestimate their ability to make rational decisions, especially in fields where they believe they have expertise. This overconfidence can lead to poor choices, especially in complex or uncertain environments. C. Spotting bias. By becoming aware of these unconscious influences, individuals can train themselves to recognize and counteract them, leading to better decision-making. 15. Conclusion and practical applications. A. Recognizing sway. The authors conclude by encouraging readers to recognize the forces of sway in their lives and decisions. Awareness is the first step toward overcoming these irrational influences. B. Practical tips. Some practical strategies include questioning initial assumptions, seeking out dissenting opinions, and being mindful of emotional and social influences on decision-making. C. Improving decision-making. While it's impossible to eliminate irrational biases completely, individuals can improve their decision-making by being more aware of the psychological forces that sway them. 16. Very important points. A. Sway factors. Irrational decisions are often driven by loss aversion, commitment escalation, value attribution, diagnosis bias, and fairness concerns. B. Social and emotional influences. Emotions, social dynamics, and groupthink play a significant role in swaying individuals' behavior, even in high-stakes situations. C. Cognitive biases. Cognitive biases like anchoring, framing, and overconfidence often lead individuals to make irrational decisions. D. Awareness and mitigation. Recognizing these psychological forces can help individuals make more rational decisions in both personal and professional contexts. In conclusion, Sway, The Irresistible Pull of Irrational Behavior, offers a comprehensive look at the hidden forces that influence decision-making and provides readers with the tools to understand and mitigate these influences. Through real-world examples and psychological research, the authors demonstrate how everyone is susceptible to irrational behavior, but awareness can help reduce its impact.